Oh, what's going on, GameLeapers? In today's video, we're going to be going through the 1223 changes that got released on Twitter a couple of hours ago. So we'll be breaking down what these changes mean and how they're going to impact the Rift in 1223. Now, any questions, any comments, any ideas you might have on whether these champions will become busted or become really bad because of the buffs or nerfs, then let us know down below. And of course, guys, if you want this preseason content to continue, leave a like on the video and let's get into the changes. Now, we'll start by talking about the champion buffs. Now, for Zeri, there are a bunch of changes hitting the Rift, and to be honest, there are way too many changes to actually kind of like discuss in this video, and because of that reason, they look more like adjustments than anything. So you might be getting a bit more magic damage in your E, your Q might be dealing a little bit more damage, your base movement speed is getting nerfed, but the movement speed overall might be down. So there are way too many changes to make like an accurate prediction on how good or bad Zeri will be, or if she'll still be the same. So pretty trash in other words. So when 1223 hits the Rift, we will give you an update on this champion. Any Zeri mains, if you actually do have an opinion on her and the changes, let us know down below. Now, Zeri's the only AD carry who is actually getting buffed in 1223. So why don't we head to the top lane, which is really the big talking point here, and there are a bunch of champions getting buffed. So the first of these is Sion. So the bounce might hit rank 1 because of these changes, because Sion's base mana is going up by 70. This is kind of huge because as Sion, your abilities are everything. Without them, you might as well not play the game. So this is really nice for your early laning phase and laning phase generally speaking. Also, your mana growth is increasing, so the amount of mana you get each level, this is going up by 10 now. So once again, this really helps you during the laning phase to sustain and actually stay in lane without using a few rotations of your spells, recalling and TPing back, and rinse and repeat. So this makes you just more durable, I guess. Also, your Q's base damage. So not only is your base mana getting buffed, but the base damage in your Q is getting buffed by 10 as well. And because this is the ability you will be maxing first, this is huge for top lane Sion. So any Sion mains out there, let me know in the comments what you think of these buffs, because they seem pretty big. Now, another top lane champion getting a bit of love here, this is Cho'Gath. So your mana restore via your passive is increasing by 1.5, and then it's scaling up to 2.25. That's the increase. So a bit like Sion, this just helps your sustain. Really, really nice. And your W's base damage. So for Sion, your Q's base damage got buffed. For Cho'Gath, your W, so the silence base damage, is increasing by 5, all the way up to 25 with 5 points in it. Now, to be honest, you're probably not really going to feel this too much because you're probably going to be maxing your W second or maybe even last. So this might not have the biggest impact in the world, but right, this is still a buff. And the last buff for Cho'Gath is to your ultimate. So the cooldown in your ultimate is going from a flat 80 seconds and it's scaling down now. So from 80 seconds to 60 seconds at level 16 or 3 points in it. Now moving on, next champion to talk about, this is Maokai, or as Riot have labeled him, Meowkai. And just like the aforementioned tags, Maokai's passive is getting buffed too. So the actual healing from your passive is increasing based on your max HP. So the more HP you buy, the more healing you will get when you auto attack through your passive. And this will be most effective in the late game, of course, once you get a lot of HP. Now also your Q's bonus monster damage, so this is like a jungle Maokai buff, is getting buffed actually quite a lot by 40 damage. This is huge. And because your Q is like the key jungle clear ability, this is massive. This is going to help your clear speed, and because you're a jungler who doesn't really want to clear that much, you can just gank more, so this is a big bonus. Also, your Q's base damage, generally speaking, is increasing. So in terms of the base damage, it's increasing by 5 at rank 1, all the way to 25 at rank 5. So by level 9, your Q, the damage is up 25. Now, unlike Cho'Gath's W, because you'll be maxing this first, you will actually feel this during the early game, during the laning phase, so you can actually escape that laning phase and get to those team fights, being one of the strongest champs on the Rift. So these Maokai changes, just like these actual champions, they seem massive. Now moving on, another top laner getting buffed, this is Tahm Kench, and there are a bunch of changes here to Tahm Kench. Lots of them are based off the AP in your kit. So first of all, your passive damage, this is increasing based on 2% AP for each 100 bonus HP you have. So as you're building HP through items, right, for each 100 HP you have from those items, you're getting an extra 2% AP in your passive. This is obviously really useful if you're building something maybe like Demonic Embrace, and we might even see some on-hit AP builds in before you see like Nash's Tahm Kench in 1223, but it is maybe plausible. Any Tahm Kench mains out there, let me know in the comments what you actually think of these changes and maybe some builds you have been theory crafting. Also, the Q-AP ratio, this is up by 10%. So like I said before about the AP ratios and your kit going up, your Q's AP ratio up by 10%. Your W's AP ratio up by 25%. Also with your Q as well, the actual self-heal based on missing HP, this ratio is up by 2% as well. Now also your E, the percentage of damage you get stored, this is actually increasing whether you're alone or near an allied champion, and your R percentage health, the AP ratio in this is going up to 7% for each 100 AP you have. So again, demonic embrace here, because it will convert all of that HP you have from most of your items anyway. This will amp up your ultimate, and the actual shield duration here is going from 2.5 seconds after the devour ends to unlimited, but now it's going to decay by 200 per second. So those are the Timekens changes for 12.23.
And just one really quick thing, guys,
is to download the POROFESSOR app linked in the description, because it allows you to quickly import the best rune page used from the best players in the world on the champion you're picking. You don't have to make the rune page, just one click of a button and bang, you're ready to go. But that's not all, because the app also allows you to scout your opponents, and the app will give you their stats, how well they play their champion, so you can know more about your opponent than they know about themselves. And the app also gives you an in-game overlay, so you can compare your CS and your kill participation to your rank or even challenger players like Faker. And there's a reason why 3 million people have downloaded this free application, guys. It's because it works. So get around it in Season 12. Those links are in the description.
Now Malphite is the final pure top laner left who's getting buffed. So what's happening? Your W's on hit damage is increasing based on the amount of armor you have, so up 5%. Your W's cone damage is going to be increasing based on the armor you have. So this is scaling off an extra 10% of your armor. And exactly the same with your E's damage as well. This is scaling off an extra 10% of your armor. If you're building a bunch of items which are going to make you even better against attack damage champions, which is what you should be building on Malphite, you are just going to be more of an unstoppable force. And we have 3 more champions getting buffed, guys, and these all reside in the jungle. So first of all, we have Shadow Kayn or Blue Kayn, the assassin version. So the passive damage is up by 5% early on to 10% later on. This is massive, of course, for Assassin Kayn, because in the mid to late game, that is your best chance to one-shot champions, and the damage increase here via your passive, this is huge. Also, your E is heal. So when you go into terrain, this is scaling more of your bonus AD. Now you might be thinking here, if you're playing Assassin Kayn, why can't you get away with building like bruiser items but still being just as effective? Well, here's the thing. Lethality items really give you the most attack damage possible. You might think of building something like Death Stance, Black Cleaver, but the truth is, lethality is going to actually make use of this E heal ratio buff more than going something like Bruiser. So this again will just encourage you to go full assassin, so these changes look legit and good for Blue Kayn. Now moving on, Zac. So your passive healing, this is actually increasing the base stat. This is great. Also your Q's cooldown is down by a full 1 second at each level, and your Q's base damage, well, this is staying the same, but it is scaling way more off of your max HP. So it's going from 2.5% of that max HP to 4%. So the more HP you build, goodness me, the damage is going to be off chops. Now the final jungler and champion getting buffed in 12.23, this is Amumu. So your health growth, so the actual amount of HP you get per level, this is up by 11 from 89 to 100. This helps your scaling. Now your Q's mana cost, this is actually getting nerfed. So for support Amumu in particular, this is going up by 10, right? And to be honest, this sounds good because Amumu having 2 casts of his Q for only 30 mana at level 1, it's honestly pretty troll in terms of how OP it is, so this nerf definitely seems valid. But moving back to the buffs, your E's base damage, it might be decreasing in the early game, but from rank 3 onwards, it is increasing by 5 and then to 15 at rank 5. This is really important for your clear, of course. This will encourage you to max your E first, so Amumu can make use of this. Also, your W's base damage per second is scaling more off the target's max HP. So against tankier champions, because there's so much HP in the game at the moment, whether it's from Heartsteel or a bunch of other items, Amumu is just going to thrive a little bit more in the current meta. So those are the champion buffs. Let's move on to the champion nerfs. We have 6 of these champions, and let's actually stay in the jungle here because we have, well, really 4 champions getting changed. The first of this being Mordekaiser. So your passive, where it's going to proc on all monster hits, is now only going to proc on large monster hits. And the actual monster caps, so the actual damage, this is going down as well at all levels. Now this means if you're taking maybe something like Dragon or Baron or Rift Herald, because they have a lot of HP and your passive completely shreds them, well remember, that is not classified as a large monster. So these objectives are going to be harder to take, and that's one of the big reasons why Mordekaiser in most levels of play at the moment, it's just so oppressive. You clear camps so quickly, so this might even kill Mordekaiser in the jungle. We'll have to wait and see, and he might just be a pure top laner. Now next up we have Shyvana. So your E's on hit damage is actually scaling less off the target's maximum HP, which seems legit because if you land your E, you shred anyone. So hopefully this brings Shyvana back in line a little bit. Now we also have another attack damage champion here, this being Trundle, who's killing it at the moment with Ravenous Hydra, and because Trundle, well, really his ultimate, right, so good at shredding targets with lots of health. So your base attack speed is down. This is going to affect your early game. Also your ultimate's damage based on the target's max HP, this is down as well. So there's tanks or bruisers or God, even assassins building Heartsteel, you won't be sucking them for their HP as much. And the final jungler getting nerfed, this is Lilia. So your Q's-based damage, kind of a simple one here. Well, it's actually going up in the early game, but it is getting lower in the late game. So it's going from 70 to 190 to 80, but to 160. This is actually quite a sizable nerf. 30 damage, that is a lot on your main ability that will help you clear and actually fight enemy champions. Now the final two champions here, honestly, I love it when this champion gets nerfed. This is Yuumi, because it means that I don't have to ban her in ranked games. I can actually ban maybe someone else who's actually OP instead of just being straight up annoying. So for Yuumi, your passive's cooldown is going up in the early game from 14 to 6 seconds to 18 to 6 seconds. That's big. And also your ultimate to root duration is going from 1.75 to 1.25. Now these are actually kind of big nerfs, but maybe the good news for Yuumi mains is that you just won't be banned as much. So there might be a little bit of a silver lining there. But yes, these are legit nerfs, so watch out for your win rate. And the final champion on the nerf list, this is Syndra. And to be honest, guys, I think we can all agree that this is legit justified. So your W's bonus damage is going down from 15% to 12%, but it is going to scale more for each 100 AP you have. So in the late game, this is actually going to end up being a buff if you can actually get there. Now your E's AP ratio is down by 10%, kind of a big nerf, but honestly your E, the big positive for this at the moment is the radius of it. So until they really nerf this, I mean, maybe another 10% off your E's AP ratio would make it way too severe. But yes, the actual radius of your scatter of the week, that's what makes this ability really broken once you actually activate it through your Splinter stacking. And your E's cooldown, that's not all, is increasing by 2 seconds as well. So it's gone from a flat 15 seconds to a flat 17 seconds. But we're not done because we do have one item getting buffed and one item getting nerfed. So we'll start with the buffed item. We'll try and change the mood up here. And the new Sunfire Aegis, which is just a legendary item, it's no longer a mythic. Well, the actual cost of this, the combined cost for both items, is going down by 100. Therefore, the total cost is down by 100 as well. So from 2,800 gold to 2,700. This is a nice buff. Also, the HP you get from the item is up by 100. Now, if Riot changed this before they nerfed all of these champions or even buffed all of the tanks, right, this would be actually kind of bad for Sunfire, even though they are buffs, because so many champions love playing against HP at the moment. So because of the changes we've been through already, this seems really nice. And the final nerf, guys, in 12.23, this is to Ravenous Hydra. The Omnivamp from full stack. So once you actually stack the new Carnivorous stacking passive, you get 4% Omnivamp, right? This is now going to be 0. So you're only getting it once you actually complete the item, right? That is Omnivamp, so 10%. So champions who deal consistent damage like Fiora, like Camille, they will probably feel this more than other champions. Trundle is another one we talked about, right? So this seems real, but still you've got the same amount of stacking and you're getting the same amount of extra AD from that Carnivorous passive. So I don't think this is really going to change too much, to be honest, but the splash damage is getting nerfed from the cleave passive, from 60% for melee champions to 50%, and for ranged champions from 30% to 25%. So yes, these are actually nerfs, but is it really going to make the item less popular? Well, of course we'll have to wait and see, but I still think it will be prioritized by a lot of champions using it at the moment. So those were the changes, guys, for 12.23. Again, any comments, any thoughts, leave them in the comment section down below. And until tomorrow's video, where we will probably release like a top champions video based on these changes. Until then, this has been a peace.